Welcome to the SImple Sophisticate podcast, where each Monday, intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables. In today's episode, I'll be sharing the 8 pillars that provide the foundation for building a simply luxurious life. You may be wondering, what is a simply luxurious life? Put simply, no pun intended, it is refined living on an everyday income, preferring quality over quantity in every area of our lives. And then ultimately, it allows us to create a very content and fulfilling life that enables us to reach our full potential. Also, at the end of the podcast, stay tuned as I will be sharing my latest petite pleasure. I review Idina Menzel in her latest Broadway performance, If Then. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. I think I've been living unconsciously this idea of a simply luxurious life since I was a little girl. It wasn't until I started my blog just under 5 years ago that I started to really analyze and think, okay, why do I live this way? Why do I love living this way? And how am I living? What is the foundation, the values that I am focusing on? So today, to start off in our premiere podcast of the SImple Sophisticate, I'm going to share with you the 8 pillars of how to build a simply luxurious life. So I'm going to list these 8 here, and then I'm going to break them down, define them, and give examples from my own life, as well as other examples that may help you kind of get an idea of what each of them look like. The simply luxurious life really isn't about what specifically it has to look like. It is simply about creating or curating your own unique life that's tailored to your passions, your talents, and you as an individual. And we're all different. And so that's the beauty of a simple luxurious life. It can fit with anyone's life. It's just a matter of understanding the tools and building those pillars so that you can build a sound structure. Okay, so the 8 pillars, here we go. Let's list them off. First one, have a healthy self-respect and self-worth. The second pillar is to create a sound financial foundation and understanding how much you make and where you spend it in order to be successful and secure as you move forward throughout your life and in pursuing your dreams. The third one is supportive and making sure that your life has supportive and loving relationships in all areas. Could be not only in your love life, but also with your friendships and at work and your community. Number 4, good health. And when we say good health, we're not only talking about the food you eat, but also your exercise regimen. And don't worry, I'm not going to have you sweating bullets. 5, a sanctuary to call home. Someplace where you can go and completely relax. That's number 5. Number 6, having everyday rituals that are enjoyable and make each day a little bit more luxurious. That's the 6th one. And number 7, having a signature style. And this starts with your clothing, but it can go into your behavior and how you go through every single day. Your style, something that makes you, that is your authentic self. And you convey that to the world at large. And also you feel comfortable dressing this way and living this way. And last, but certainly not least, is that you continually have an insatiable appetite for knowledge, for learning. And your learning interests could be obviously different from the next guy because you're going to have different passions and talents, and you're going to live in a different environment as well. But it's just always keeping an open mind and learning, because once you learn more, you can do more and you can involve yourself in more and you can speak up more confidently and so on and so forth. So those are the 8 pillars. And don't worry, if you didn't catch those or write those all down, on every podcast, I will have a blog post on my blog, The Simply Luxurious Life, and it will show all the show notes and links to anything I talk about here. So you will be able to get all of this down at the blog, www.thesimplyluxuriouslife.com. All right, so let's get started on breaking each of these 8 pillars down. The first pillar of a simply luxurious life is having a healthy self-respect and self-worth. What does that mean? Well, basically, it's this idea, very simply, that you matter, that you are of value. You being here on this earth is of great importance. There is something within you that is unique. There is something within you that is waiting to be discovered, and it's up to you to figure out what that is. And that takes time, and it just depends on your path. And I actually have a post on Discover Your Purpose on the blog, and I'll link to it on the show notes on how to find that. But Everyone's path is going to be different, but the key is to recognize that you do have something of value, that you are unique and just like everyone else, which means that everyone else is the same because they're all unique, I guess. But in the sense of you have something unique to offer, and it is important and imperative that you find that, because when you find that, it's magic. And in following podcasts, I'll talk about that. All right. So for an example of someone that has self-worth. Okay. Well, before we get to the example, actually, I do want to talk about that it's just as much external as it is internal. It's just as much as dealing with people that say or treat you in certain ways, and you discerning what you should welcome into your life and what you shouldn't. And it's also about accepting and understanding that you have control over your internal thoughts and emotions. And someone who has this self-respect and understanding that they are of a value, they also recognize that their mind can have bad days and their emotions are fleeting and things will pass. That is, so it's recognizing that you externally deserve to be treated as someone that matters, that has absolute value in this world, and also that you need to also be someone who's supportive of yourself emotionally. That little voice in your head needs to be monitored and controlled. And if we let it run rampant, it can be very destructive. All right. So an example, for example, say you have this horrible day, maybe even a bad week at work or whatever in your personal life, and you come home at the end of the week. The person with self-worth and who is secure within themselves is gonna wallow. They may have a pity fest for an evening or an afternoon or an hour. I don't know. Depends on the situation, obviously. But they're not going to actually believe that they, for whatever reason, maybe the thoughts are going through their head. Oh my gosh, I'm a horrible worker. Oh my gosh, I can't do this job. Oh my gosh, this is never going to work out. The person who has self-worth is going to say, okay, get over yourself. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. It'll be better. They will recognize that voice dancing around in their head on that end of the week is temporary, is responding to maybe they didn't get enough sleep. Maybe they need to have time to actually digest everything and they haven't done that fully. Whatever it is, they recognize this as a temporary feeling. The person without self-worth will believe that this week is indicative of who they are, is absolutely what's going to happen for the rest of their lives, because they don't have this understanding that they are human, they make mistakes, and life will go on. So it's really important to understand that you find that within yourself, to value yourself, to find that strength within yourself, to push beyond these tough situations, because they're going to happen. Everyone's going to have a bad day at some point. But the key is to recognize that emotions are fleeting. They're temporary. We need to master our minds, or else our mind will master us. And as soon as we understand that, we put the power back in our hands, and we can better control those scenarios that are out of our control. And there'll be things that are out of our control, as we all know. All right. That was number one. So that was number one, having a healthy self-respect and self-worth. All right. Number two of the pillars of living a simply luxurious life is creating a secure financial footing. Now, as we know, the world, there's a means to how we live, and money is that means, or that energy that's exchanged between people or entities for goods. And knowing how money functions in your life, well, it may not be fun when you initially begin budgeting and keeping track of your expenses, is absolutely crucial to being successful as you go about chasing your dreams, saving for the future so that you can retire, saving for that trip to Paris, or simply to another state in our country. It's just something that you need to be aware of. It's not I'm not good at numbers. No. Come on. You can do basic math. It's called a calculator. Knowing that you have enough money in the bank to pay your bills, knowing that you aren't overextending yourself so that you put yourself in worse situation than you already are, is important. So, the key, though, with financial footing is no matter what your income, you must respect where you are, and you must refuse to live beyond your means. And that, obviously, we're talking about credit, taking on credit that you can't repay in full each month. Also saying no when you really can't afford, although you may want to that lovely Diane von Furstenberg wrap dress that's on sale. And even though it's a fantastic price, still doesn't fit in your budget yet. But it's about having that internal respect for yourself, that you eventually will get to your financial goals, and having the ability to know that you are on a path and you will be successful. So In saving each month, whether it's only $50 a month in your retirement account, paying off your credit card bill, this is important to building that financial freedom. And I can remember, my first job. Actually, it was my first job in Oregon as a teacher. I love my job, but it didn't make a lot of money. I remember I refused to put anything on my credit card if I couldn't pay it off in full. And it was the day before I got paid the next month's payment. And I had maybe a drop of gas in my car. And I was going up this hill to get back home from work. And I swear to God, I thought my car was going to just give up the ghost. But it didn't. It got me over the hump. But I was just so adamant about, probably more so than I needed to be or should have been. I was so adamant that I was not going to put a tank of gas on my credit card because I was getting paid tomorrow and everything would be a clean wash. Anyway, I've come a bit of a ways from that. And I can honestly say being in that position has made me appreciate where I am now and build that confidence that I can get to where I want to go, because everything does take time. So making sure that you have a strong financial footing is that structure that will allow you to bounce or to jump to where you want to go next. All right, so that was number 2. Number 3, building strong, supportive, healthy relationships is crucial as well to our social well-being, our emotional state of mind, and our ability to believe that we can go further, we can reach our full potential. Whether it's in our romantic life, whether it's with our friendships, whether it's at work, whether it's with our neighbors in our community, the town that we live in, knowing that we have a strong network of people is vital. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have 5,000 friends on Facebook and note that anyone you talk to is going to know your name and love and respect you. That's not going to, you may have 5,000 friends on Facebook, but it's not about the number, the quantity. It's about, again, coming back to the root of what a simple, luxurious life is. It's coming back to the quality of your relationships. Do they respect you for who you are? Do you respect them for who they are? Do you keep an open mind? Do you set clear boundaries? Do you walk away from relationships that aren't working or healthy or supportive? Are you communicating in a way that's effective? These things are the ones that are going to build those healthy, loving, supportive relationships. And I go over a lot of this in detail on my relationships page on the simpleluxuriouslife.com. So you can hop on over there and look through more than a handful of posts that talk about how to communicate effectively when you're talking about something that's really uncomfortable, how to be a good friend. I have a post about 15 attributes of being a good friend, all sorts of things, how to be supportive of people that you love, how to make someone feel special. All those things are over there on that page on the simpleluxuriouslife.com. So do stop by. But having strong friendships, strong relationships in general are very important to creating that simple, luxurious life that you are curating at this moment. All right, pillar 4 is all about good health. And we're talking food, we're talking fitness, the fun stuff, the stuff that we look forward to at the end of the day, building that beautiful meal with a glass of wine, to that wonderful walk in the morning as you watch the sunrise. The key is consistency, really. I'm not here as a nutritionist or a doctor, so I'm not about to tell you how this is going to affect you personally, and you need to make sure anything you do for your health, you check with your doctor. But what I've learned through my experience of trying to stay slim and fit and then eat strictly to certain diets is that the diets according to the United States, meaning to refrain from eating fabulous food, don't work. It's all about moderation. I think one of the things that I really recognized on my travels to France is that you can eat butter, you can enjoy a croissant, you can enjoy a chocolate. You just can't have 10 chocolates. You just can't have 3 croissants in the morning or even 2. It's all about moderation. And if you choose quality food, then 1 is enough because it completely satiates you. Same thing with workout. It's all about moderation, and consistency is huge. Whether you choose to run, walk, take Pilates, go canoeing, whatever it is that you choose to do, just do it regularly. Do something you enjoy, something that you lose track of time of. If you don't enjoy running, don't do it. If you enjoy walking, go for it. Pick up your pace a little bit, challenge yourself with a few hills now and then, but just make sure you do it regularly. For a detailed list of all sorts of ideas on how to eat well and to work out in a way that is keeping with that idea of moderation, stop by my blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, and go to the health, beauty, and fitness section. And you'll have a ton of posts to go through and kind of scan through based on your interests. All right, before we get to the remaining 4 pillars of the Simple Luxurious Life, we're going to take a brief 1-minute intermission, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Simple Sophisticate. Before the break, we talked about 4 of the 8 pillars to building a simple, luxurious life, and now I'd like to get to the remaining 4. Let's move on to the 5th pillar. 5th pillar is a sanctuary to call home, no matter what the size. Let's focus on the word sanctuary first of all. Because it really does, I use it a lot and I use it on purpose. A sanctuary is a place where you feel safe, where you can completely let your hair down, figuratively speaking, and where you go to rejuvenate so that when you walk out the door the next day, you are primed and at your best so that whatever comes your way, you can handle to the best of your ability. So what are the qualities of a sanctuary? I want you to listen to these carefully because I think you'll be surprised not only what they are, but what they aren't. All right. So the first one is it's clean. Second is that it's organized, lacking all unnecessary stuff and clutter. And also there is thoughtful personalization, such as perhaps a framed monochromatic picture wall of memorable destinations that you visited. And lastly, it's functional, meaning you are able to live your life in this space. You may have noticed the thing that is missing. I hope you noticed the thing that was missing is that none of the descriptors I shared with you require a particular size or type of home. One person may be blissfully content on a houseboat in the Pacific Northwest, while another one may need a well-stocked, spacious kitchen because they love entertaining and hosting regularly. Yet another may be completely content in, say, a studio, high ceilings, industrial fixtures. And so long as they have light and space to sprawl out and do their thing, they're happy. And another, something that I would enjoy and I prefer, is a small little bungalow, someplace that is little so that I can keep it up easily and has oodles of charm or opportunity for charm. So it really doesn't matter about the size. It doesn't matter about the place. It's all about you and understanding what fits you best. All right. Even if you're currently living in a place, because I have a feeling that some of you listening may not be particularly at peace with where you're living. You may be living in a roommate situation or a situation where the house is too small or too big, whatever it is that you prefer not to. But you can, even in those situations, actually create or curate a sanctuary that is more to your liking. For example, you can take time to do the things such as cleanliness, organization, or tend to or create those do-it-yourself projects that will reveal a bit of your personality throughout the home. And, you take more pride in your home too when you've invested like that. Also, simply choosing furniture and items that will maximize the livability factor that home, whatever the size it is, provides. I think after you do all these things, I think you'll be surprised by any transformation that occurs because there will be. It will be quite significant. I always like going into places and painting the walls. It's one of the first things that I do. And I'm always amazed by how instantaneously the house, becomes my home. Now, I know we didn't go into in depth in a lot of these topics about decor, so I want to direct you to my blog, www.thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/decor, and you'll find all sorts of posts on how to organize, how to simplify your house's cleaning routine, and endless ideas for all the different rooms in your house and how to decorate and all sorts of ideas. Again, that's www.thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/decor. All right. Our sixth pillar is incorporating everyday rituals into your daily routine that are enjoyable and make life all the more luxurious. Now, one of my favorite rituals, which I talk about a lot on the blog, is my cup of black lavender tea from Palais de Thé. Monton Bleu is the flavor, and I'll put that all in my show notes. But anyway, I have it at the end of the evening. I pair it with a dark chocolate peanut butter truffle from Arrowhead Chocolates. You can buy their chocolates online. I'll give you the link. They're fantastic. Honestly, just one, and it completely satiates any sweet tooth you may have. But such simple, inexpensive routines can bring an amazing amount of pleasure. Not only do you have something to look forward to as you go through the day, but more often than not, when you enjoy these rituals, you are absolutely present. And when you're present, you're not stressing about the past, you're not worrying about the future, and so your life becomes fuller and richer, and you open up and have the potential to have more honest and sincere connections, not only with others, but if you're spending time by yourself, you also have an opportunity to really just enjoy your own company. And that is an amazing gift that you can give yourself. I have a feeling you probably already have a few everyday, or as I said, probably weekly, monthly, or seasonal rituals you enjoy. But if you're looking for a few more ideas, I will include a link to a few posts which have a list of rituals if you want to try to adopt a few more. Okay, moving on to pillar 7, which is creating a signature style. One of my greatest passions since I was a young girl has always been fashion, but I'll be honest, it took some time to figure out how all the pieces, the accessories, the pants, the top, the dress fit together, as well as work best with my figure and my lifestyle. Now, as our lives and our bodies shift, because they will always be shifting and growing and moving and all that fun stuff, so too does this require that our wardrobe kind of evolves with that. But at the same time, if you have figured out your signature style at the core, that really doesn't change, which makes it all the more easier to make those tweaks and changes as your life changes and grows and evolves. All right, which is good news, I think. So, I mean, we do all this homework beforehand, but it pays off in the long run. So it's another reason to do your homework. Okay, the teacher's coming out of me. So a signature style, though, doesn't just pertain to your wardrobe, but it also pertains to your mannerisms, perfume you choose, home decor, and overall the way you navigate your life. In the show notes, I will share links to posts that dive deeper into how to curate your signature style, how to build a capsule wardrobe, as well as share links to my online store where I've already done some of the shopping for you to kind of give you an idea of what may be at the foundation of your capsule wardrobe. All right, the key thing to remember when it comes to your signature style is authenticity. Your style, what you present to the world, reveals who you are, your self-confidence, what you are passionate about, and where you want to go. So take this part seriously, but I think this one it's just a lot of fun to do, in all honesty, and it never stops. But creating your signature style, pillar number 7. The last pillar, number 8, and the pillar that serves, I think, as the glue in some ways to pulling all the other pillars together, is having an insatiable appetite for knowledge. Part of the reason I became a high school teacher is that I love to learn. And part of the reason I pursued history as well as English was because I was always wondering why or how something occurred. Whatever you are passionate about or whatever you enjoy doing, whether it's learning how to run a business or how to crochet or how to cook sole meunier like Julia Child, continue to feed this curiosity. Because when you feed what you are naturally drawn to, your expertise grows along with your interest. And as you learn more, you fear less because you have become informed on how to prevent or cause things to happen. Knowledge is one of the best gifts you can give yourself for 3 reasons. Number 1, it can never be taken away from you. Number 2, it enhances your life no matter what your age. And 3, there will never be a shortage of knowledge. You will never get bored. I mean, this is exciting things, I think. I think there's always something around the corner that could surprise you. And that may scare some people, but I think in the long run, it's a really exciting thing, because if you're seeking it, you are taking the reins, right? And you may not know what's going to be around that corner, but man, if it's something of amazement and of positivity and excitement that'll lead you to a new path you never even imagined, that's the exciting part about never stopping that curiosity. All right, so there you have it. The 8 pillars for building a simply luxurious life. 1, creating a healthy self-worth and self-respect. And 2, creating a sound financial foundation. 3, supportive and healthy loving relationships. 4, having a strong and healthy eating and exercise regimen. 5, creating a sanctuary to call your home, no matter what the size. 6, creating everyday rituals. 7, creating, again, a signature style. And 8, having an insatiable appetite for knowledge. I hope you've enjoyed the premiere podcast of the SImple Sophisticate. Please note that the 8 pillars I just covered are just a taste of what my new book will contain. Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide, is being released January 2015, and you can learn all about it on the blog. Now, stay tuned for a petite pleasure to feed your sophisticated taste. Have you ever reflected upon your life and asked the question, what if? What if I had gone to college here instead of there? What if I had said yes to that date that I was too busy for? What if I had stayed abroad instead of returning to the States to work? The questions that follow those 2 simple words can be endless depending on where you find yourself at the current moment and how fulfilled and content you are. And so when I happened upon Stephanie Cohen's Wall Street Journal review this past spring of If Then, starring Idina Menzel, I couldn't help but be curious. How might the writers, Brian Yorkey and Tom Kitt, complete the sentence? And I knew the only way to find the answer was to head to New York. Oh, darn. So that's exactly what I did. I purchased my tickets, and I waited for 3 months. And this past July, I actually had the opportunity to sit in Richard Rodgers Theater and listen to Idina Menzel and get the answers that I was initially curious about. First, let me set the scene and kind of tell you what the play is all about. First of all, it's an original musical. Elizabeth is played by Idina Menzel, and she has just returned to New York City, just shy of her 40th birthday, after having left her life and her husband, now ex-husband, in Phoenix. Okay, so from the very first scene, the 2 paths diverge that we're going to follow this whole scene. You wonder, how are they going to do this? It's on stage. There's no optics. There's no illusions they can use. But what they do is something very simple. And if you do have to pay close attention, you really have to pay close attention. But all it is a simple shift of the name that the characters call her. In one world, she's Liz, and in another world, she's Beth. She typically will put on glasses, reading glasses, for Liz, and she will not have them for Beth, who is working at the city planner's office in New York City. As well, the screen color changes from orange for Liz and blue for Beth. So if you can follow those 3 things, you can pretty much figure it out. Now, I'll be honest, I want to go back and see it one more time, and I probably won't be able to give a chance, but I really do, just so I can catch those little small things I know I missed. I know I missed them, but I did get it figured out by the end in the bigger gist of things. All right, so we have the 2 paths, and while I won't give away how each path wraps up, if you know this, know that the writers in writing this play were inspired by the short story expert O. Henry's story, Roads of Destiny, and Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. So if you understand or you know those 2 books' plots, then you probably have a pretty good idea that while we need to be the navigator that takes charge of our lives and the decisions we make, chance also plays a bit of a role. This is a very contemporary musical. So the writers clearly knew who their audience was going to be when they sat down and wrote this. And they bring in a lot of different social issues that some people may be shocked they bring in, but they don't glorify either one. They just present them as, well, that's the way it is. But Idina Menzel or Elizabeth's story is always at the forefront. And then you have both paths that she's taking, and each of them involve different decisions. And her friends are leading different lives as well in both of these paths. Speaking of the cast, this is a very strong cast. I recognize LaChance, who plays Kate, Elizabeth's good friend, throughout both sides of her journeys. And I wasn't sure where I recognized her from. One thing to know is LaChance is the Tony Award winner for Best Actress in 2013 for The Color Purple. But where I recognized her from, and it was a small role, but something I just have always remembered, it was in Sex and the City. She was a taxi driver for Carrie on the evening after, or the evening of her big book signing event, and she treated her to a hot dog. I don't know if you guys remember that. Anyway, that was LaChance's small role in Sex and the City, and she obviously is doing so much more than that now, and her voice is just so strong, confident, and powerful. The cast, like I said, the singing will just keep you enthralled and trying to figure out, how are these writers going to finish this musical? Well, with the voice of Wicked and Frozen fame, they really couldn't do much wrong. Idina plays each role so well. You're not really rooting for one or the other because they have so many different twists and turns. But in the end, like I said, I walked out of there still thinking, trying to put everything together, but also just absolutely thrilled with what they were trying to say about life, chance, choice, and while we play a huge integral role in it, if we don't, we're not going to get anywhere. Chance plays a hand, and it often will surprise us, even for the planners of you listeners. I know I include myself in that category, who think they can figure it all out. And one of the biggest reasons I love Broadway is the experience that is absolutely impossible to replicate. Let me really quickly just describe where I was sitting and how it all played out. So I happened to get, and it's so much easier to get a great seat when you're going by yourself. I've gone to so many plays on myself, but I get the best seats, especially last minute, although this one wasn't last minute. But I was determined to sit down the orchestra in the middle, as close to the stage as I could. And I happened to get a seat that was 11 rows from the front. And if you've ever been to Richard Rodgers Theater, it ascends pretty quickly, nothing like in London, but it does, the seats fall back and ascend pretty quickly. And so if Idina Menzel is standing in the front center of the stage, as far as her eye level is pretty much in line with mine. And while I know she probably can't see the audience at all, when she sang, dang, you just felt like she was singing to you. It was absolutely magical. And her voice, as we know, so many people have fallen in love with it with the release of Frozen. Yes, her voice is impressive on that film, but nothing can replace what it's like to hear her in person. And again, that is why I love Broadway. So if you have plans to visit the New York City area in the next few months, I highly recommend If Then, starring Idina Menzel. They have extended the performances for the second time due to popular demand, and it runs at the Richard Rodgers Theater through Sunday, December 21st at 226 West 46th Street. I'll put all the information on how and where to buy tickets up on the blog show notes for this podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this week's Petite Pleasure. Stay tuned until next Monday at the end of the podcast when another Petite Pleasure will be shared, perhaps a book, or maybe a film, a recipe, perhaps. Stop by to find out. Thank you for tuning in to the SImple Sophisticate podcast. Tune in each Monday morning when more ideas and inspiration will be shared as intelligent living is paired with signature style. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would so appreciate it if you could rate and review this podcast on iTunes. It won't take more than a few minutes, and it will be a great help in getting this new podcast off to a good start. To view the show notes that I kept referencing throughout the podcast, go ahead and visit www.thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast1. And it'll take you right to this podcast as well as all those notes, links, and blog posts that I mentioned throughout. Until next Monday, bonjour!